Welcome to the 2019 through 2020 Prince William Chamber Valor Awards.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Prince William Chamber of Commerce Virtual Valor Awards, sponsored by the Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center. My name is Bishop Lyle Dukes and I am the chairman of the 2019-2020 Board of Directors representing Prince William County as well as the cities of Manassas and Manassas Park. I have also served for several years with the Prince William County Police Department as a chaplain. We would like to take this opportunity, this moment, to recognize and acknowledge those that have helped keep our community safe. Police, our fire and rescue, and also our volunteer fire and rescue departments. Listen, the last several months with COVID-19 pandemic and all the challenges with racial injustice, it has shown a light on our first responders, our medical personnel, and law enforcement like never before. While we're still working some things out, I think it's important to thank the heroes who have put their lives on the line every single day to protect all people in our community. Let's give them a round of applause for all they do.
The Prince William Chamber, with the communities of Prince William County and the cities of Manassas and Manassas Park, salute all of our first responders for all of your labor to bring health, healing, and safety to our environment. To our police departments, emergency medical services, fire and rescue, and our volunteer departments, thank you for your service.
We'd like now to acknowledge the sponsors for today's event. Our presenting sponsor, Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center. Our speaker sponsor, Inova. Our patriot sponsors, John Marshall Bank, Northern Virginia Electric Cooperative, known as NOVAC, and Youth for Tomorrow. And we have our first responders supporting sponsors, Aspire at Belmont Bay, Capital Carry, Elite Shooting Sports, and Premier Martial Arts. We also want to thank Inside Nova, our annual community media sponsor, for their promotion of this event. Now we have a message from our presenting sponsor, Centera Healthcare.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Centera Healthcare, we are honored to once again sponsor the Prince William Chamber of Commerce Valor Awards. Each year, we celebrate the Valor Awards And each year we are inspired by the actions, the courage, and the selflessness of the first responders who serve our community. Each year the stories have different players and different circumstances, but the common denominator is always the outstanding character of the men and women on the front line in keeping our communities safe. By definition, bravery is the quality or state of having or showing mental or moral strength to face danger, fear, or difficulty. And truly, bravery is the cornerstone of this event. For many of our first responders, their profession is a calling. These men and women dedicate their careers and their lives in service to others. With these awards, we celebrate and honor the men and women who serve and protect our community. Their acts of valor provide us with a sense of security, although many of these individuals would simply say that they're just doing their job. Today provides us with the opportunity to thank all public safety officials and honor and recognize those who have distinguished themselves through their noble acts. At Centera, we work side by side with these brave and honorable men and women. We see their hard work, dedication, and caring. Together, we are committed to serving our community and providing the best care possible. From the development of our stroke protocols, which implement care even before a patient enters the hospital, to achieving our goal of trauma level 3 designation, we couldn't have done any of this without you, our partners in the county. On behalf of the physicians, staff, and volunteers at Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center, thank you for your commitment to the communities we serve and to all you do to improve health every day.
We would like also to recognize our 2019-2020 Vision Partners. These members have chosen to partner with the Chamber to showcase their commitment to impacting the community and developing a reputation as your preferred partner in success. Each of the Vision Partners have chosen an area of vision that makes up the Chamber's program of work because it is an area to which the member is committed. This year's Vision Partners are Dominion Energy, our founding Vision Partner.
Good afternoon. My name is Brendan Shaw. On behalf of Dominion Energy, I'm excited to join everyone virtually to be a part of today's program. The Valor Awards is a very special and important event for our community. It is important that we take this time to recognize our local public safety officials for not just their extraordinary acts of courage and heroism, but also to acknowledge the daily sacrifices that they and their families make to keep our community safe. Every year that the Chamber hosts this event, it is truly a privilege for Dominion Energy to come and be a part of the ceremony. Firefighters, police, and EMTs are typically first on the scene in an emergency and face the greatest risk from electrical contacts, natural gas leaks, and fires. As you will hear several times throughout today's program, they run towards danger, whereas most of us would run from it. They play a critical role in Dominion Energy's operations and in maintaining reliable service to customers throughout the Commonwealth, and for that, we are grateful. On behalf of Dominion Energy, thank you to all of our local public safety officials for the tremendous contributions you make to our community each and every day. You play an integral role in keeping Prince William County, Manassas, and Manassas Park a great place to do business.
Apple Federal Credit Union, our education partner. Freedom Bank, our business growth partner. I-66 Express Mobility Partners, our economic development partner. Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center, our healthy community partner. Transurban, our advocacy partner. And last but not least, Zyders, our quality of life partner, with a message for this occasion.
Hi, I'm Paul Richardson, and I'm the president and CEO for Zyders Enterprises. Zyders is a veteran-owned business that's been headquartered in Prince William County for over 35 years. We're a government contractor that provides human capital services to the military and veteran community. We are pleased to support the Prince William Chamber as the Quality of Life Vision Partner and recognize our local heroes. Today, I want to express my heartfelt appreciation for all first responders. We thank you for your sacrifices you make each day while ensuring Prince William County is a better and safer place to live, work, and visit. The police, fire, and rescue workers we're recognizing here today, as well as all who serve in these capacities, are respected and valued members of our community. On behalf of the 1,500 employees that make up our organization, I want to extend our thanks and congratulations to this year's recipients of the Valor Awards. Your contributions to the quality of life of our community are beyond measure. I congratulate all of you and call out a special recognition for those family members and loved ones that support you each and every day. Again, job well done.
The community sponsors the Society of Former Special Agents of the FBI Incorporated and Burke and Herbert Bank present a message of support which can be seen on the screen. These messages are also in our commemorative booklets that have been presented to the winning departments with their awards. Thanks to Prince William Living, you can access a digital copy of the commemorative booklet as well. Special thanks to our Valor Award Committee and the chair, Rebecca Barnes, and Prince William Living.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Barnes, chair of the Prince William Chamber Valor Awards Committee. I'm honored to help celebrate our first responders and let them know they're a valuable part of our community. The Chamber supports quality of life and public safety as a larger part of that. As a member of OWL Volunteer Fire Department, I see the work first responders do day in and day out. Police, fire, and rescue workers typically brush off words like hero as it's just them doing their job. But the truth is, in each one of them is a courageous heart, and when the time comes, they step up and do the brave above the call of duty actions that earn them that title. As publisher of Prince William Living, we are proud to sponsor the Valor Awards and to let the public know the stories behind these heroic actions, these amazing men and women, and to remind the residents and businesses how fortunate we are here in Prince William, Manassas, and Manassas Park. Please take the time to congratulate these Valor Award winners and thank you for supporting the Prince William Chamber Valor Awards.
We now would like to acknowledge our cornerstone and keystone partners displayed on the screen, and we want to thank them for their commitment to Prince William Chamber during this year, 2019-2020. We are about to introduce our host, Jumi Alabanji, to read the heroic narrative from our police, fire, and rescue. But before we do, I want to present a message from our speaker sponsor, Inova.
Inova is proud to partner with first responders in support of the health needs of our communities. Thank you for being on the ground, in the midst, face to face. Inova recognizes the courage, professionalism, and every selfless effort exhibited every shift of every day by every first responder. We at Inova, all 18,000 of us, applaud you, our frontline heroes, who make first contact, first assessment, and often transport to one of our 5 hospitals, all the while providing life-saving care. To the Valor awardees, know that of the 2 million annual patient encounters we have here at Inova, without your bold, selfless, and compassionate intervention, those encounters would be far fewer and less successful. To our partners in providing world-class healthcare, every time, every touch, to each person in the community we are privileged to serve, thank you. On behalf of our frontline heroes, we give our thanks to the frontline heroes of Prince William County.
Hello and welcome to this year's 2020 Valor Awards honoring first responders in Prince William County. My name is Jumio Labanji. I'm an anchor and reporter at NBC4, and on behalf of NBC Washington and Telemundo 44, I want to thank the Prince William Chamber of Commerce for inviting us to play a small role in honoring our first responders. As we all know, we had hoped to honor you all in person a few months ago, but the COVID-19 pandemic impacted our ability to gather together just as it's impacted so much of our daily lives. But something we've seen throughout this pandemic is the way our area's first responders put themselves on the front lines to keep us all safe. And for that, we say thank you. Now to our awards. From the City of Manassas Fire and Rescue Department, Merit Award for Valor, Technician Justin Laidler. On December 27, 2019, at 1537 hours, City of Manassas Fire and Rescue Units, E501, TW501, M501, RE521, M521, and BC581 were dispatched to Nickel Lane for a reported apartment fire. Engine 501 and Tower 501 arrived on scene to a 3-story apartment building with an enclosed stairwell to find 2 people calling for help from a window on the Bravo side of the structure. E501 and TW501 immediately recognized that the 2 people in the window were cut off from the egress due to smoke conditions inside the apartment. Engine 501 secured their own water and stretched a 1 3/4 line to the apartment, and Tower 501 immediately split crews and began rescue efforts. The driver of Tower 501, Technician Justin Laidler, placed a ground ladder to the window where the trapped victims were, while the officer and Irons firefighter forced entry into the apartment. The occupants of the apartment were able to isolate themselves from smoke conditions in the apartment by closing the interior bedroom door to the room where they were located in. The fire was located in the front of the apartment door, which was their only exit from the apartment. Due to Technician Laidler's quick recognition and actions, he was able to bring the 2 civilians along with 2 dogs down the ground ladder and out of harm's way. The interior of the tower crew performed a quick primary of the affected residents to ensure no one else was inside, and Engine 501 extinguished the fire inside the apartment. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue and Stonewall Jackson Volunteer Fire Department, Merit Award for Valor. Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Telecommunicator 1 Jeanette Watson, Lieutenant Luke Deatley, Technician 2 Charles DeBonis, Stonewall Jackson Volunteer Fire Department, Ambulance 511, Samantha Bellows, Brianna Hart, Catherine Quinones, Engine 511, Assistant Chief Drew Taylor, Sergeant Ethan Cochran, Kyle Davey. On April 6, 2019, TCI Jeanette Watson received a 911 call from a male patient who was experiencing respiratory distress. The patient's attack was so severe that their speech was severely impacted and indiscernible. Within seconds, rapid SOS was deployed and she was able to obtain the address of the caller. Medic 511, Ambulance 511, and Engine 511 were quickly dispatched. Units were advised the 911 caller was unable to understand the patient and they were unsure if the call was a medical emergency or language barrier. All calls back to the caller by dispatch went to voicemail. Units arrived at the house and received no answer at the front or rear doors. Neighbors advised they observed 2 people leave in a car from that address recently. The crew started to think they were at the wrong address or patient left and went to the hospital on their own. Crew members noticed that a 2nd-story rear window was opened a small amount and requested a ladder be raised by on-scene engine company. Once at the window, they noticed there was someone laying on the bed, possibly unresponsive. Crews removed the window screen and found the patient barely breathing with a blue face. It appeared the patient had respiratory failure due to an asthma attack. The patient was treated aggressively by EMS, breathing for the patient with equipment and administering all the respiratory medications on hand to quickly revive the patient. The patient was transported to the local hospital. En route to the hospital, the patient began breathing on his own and eventually began talking and in great spirits. If it were not for Jeanette Watson, Medic 511, Ambulance 511, and Engine 511 taking the time in a confusing situation to confirm the patient was inside and taking swift action to make entry and start resuscitative efforts, the patient would have died from respiratory complications. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Merit Award for Valor, Lieutenant Dan Beck, Lieutenant Michelle Beck. On March 21, 2019, at approximately 4:30, retired U.S. Navy Commander Thomas Michael Smith Sr. was on a FaceTime call with his two sons. Suddenly, their father's phone fell out of his hands and was not responding when they called out to him. The boys hung up with their father and called the youngest sibling, who was home, and asked her to check on their father. She found her dad unresponsive and hung up with her brothers and called 911. The brothers made a call to their next-door neighbor, Dan Beck, asking him to run over and check on their dad. Dan immediately ran across the yard to the Smith's house and found Mike with no pulse and not breathing. He then called his wife, Mickey, to come and render assistance. Dan lowered Mike from his recliner to the floor, and Mickey arrived to assist with CPR. Dan was unable to get a proper seal to do breaths, so ran back to his house to get his pocket mask. Dan and Mickey performed CPR for approximately 8 minutes until the Fauquier County paramedic arrived. Doctors said that the severity of the apparent heart attack was not survivable, but that if anybody stood a chance, it was Mike because of the immediate response and performance of CPR by Mickey and Dan. Dan and Mickey took it upon themselves to help the family find a funeral home that could perform cremation services in time for the official Naval Memorial Service and continued to help with funeral arrangements. They arranged to have other families within the community prepare meals for the Smiths and even deliver groceries. Although Dan and Mickey are the type of people that would not think their efforts were heroic, the Smith family certainly does. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Merit Award for Valor, Technician 2, Christopher Sager. On Friday, July 19, 2019, while off duty, Christopher Sager received a phone call from his mother that his grandfather had fallen and she needed help getting him back in the house. Christopher immediately headed to his grandfather's house. Once Christopher arrived, he quickly assessed the situation and realized his grandfather was unresponsive, not breathing, and pulseless. Without hesitation, Christopher took control of the scene and asked his mother to assist getting his grandfather flat on the ground so he could start CPR. Knowing the importance of the oncoming crew needing information, he then advised his mother to call 911 back and advised that CPR was in progress. Christopher performed 1 round of CPR and rechecked his grandfather's condition to find that he had regained a pulse, although weak. Christopher was able to maintain his airway until the medic unit from Fauquier County arrived on the scene. Christopher provided all the details of the incident to the crew of the medic unit as they took over his grandfather's care and transported him to the hospital. Christopher's quick thinking, professional training, and overcoming difficulties of it being a loved one is the reason his grandfather is alive today. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Merit Award for Valor, Technician 1, Molly Bodmer. Molly Bodmer was playing golf at Poolsville Golf Course located in Montgomery County, Maryland, with her grandfather. Molly's mother, who is a volunteer auxiliary member in the county, called and notified her of a dispatch call for an unconscious male at the same golf course where she was located. Molly quickly jumped into action and made her way to the patient. Molly assessed the patient and found a male subject, pulseless and not breathing. Molly's training quickly took over and she initiated CPR. The course staff brought an AED to the scene and Molly was able to talk them through the process while still performing CPR. After 12 minutes of Molly performing CPR, she assessed the patient and felt a pulse and he began breathing on his own. Shortly after a local medic unit arrived and took over, they confirmed a pulse and that the patient was breathing and initiated transport to the local ER. The patient was admitted and ultimately discharged a few days later. Molly's ability to remain calm, take charge of the scene, and use her professional training and perform high-quality CPR gave the patient the best chance at survival and is the reason why he is at home with his loved ones today. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Valorous Unit Award, Engine 520, Technician 2, Travis Taylor, Technician 1, Robert McBurney, Technician 1, Larry Price, Technician 1, Neftali Mena, Truck 520, Lieutenant Kevin Toby, Technician 2, Andrew Hale, Technician 2, Christopher Alloway, Technician 1, Ashley Mesquita, Technician 1, Jason Mendez, Medic 520, Technician 2, Sarah Mullins, Technician 2, Stephen King, Engine 514, Lieutenant Brian Moore, Technician 2, Matthew Cohn, Technician 1, Michael Lamb, Technician 1, Daryl Jones, Rescue 506, Lieutenant Mark Nickel, Technician 2, Bobby Cook, Technician 1, Timothy Hurd, Technician 1, Kate Adzemovic, Collapse 502, Lieutenant Brian Janda, Technician 2, Jameel Brady, Technician 1, Seth Wayland, Safety 502, Lieutenant Michael Hauser, Medic 514, Technician 2, Brian Plaster, Technician 2, Benjamin Draxler, Technician 2, Daniel Blankenship, Medic 517, Lieutenant James Young, Technician 2, Patrick Rubens, Technician 2, Larry Milborn, Technician 1, Thomas Phil, Engine 512, Lieutenant Jason Zappas, Technician 2, Ryan Thomas, Technician 1, Robert Attrill III, Technician 1, Joseph Tate, Battalion 502, Battalion Chief, Kevin Artone, Technician 2, Nicholas Budkowitz, Division Chief 500, Kurt Heinrichs. On October 24, 2019, crews responded to a car that had been driven into a house. This call type dispatches numerous crews to the scene for any type of structural collapse and victim rescue. Engine 520 and Truck 520 arrived on the scene first to find a small SUV located mostly in the basement of a 2-story split-foyer home. As crews began to survey the scene, they noticed that the driver of the SUV was still trapped inside the vehicle and would need to be rescued. Truck 520's crew began working to stabilize the car and remove the patient, while Engine 520 started securing the scene and any other hazards. The engine crew deployed a hose line since the SUV's fuel tank had ruptured and crews were dealing with the gasoline leaking around them. This also caused a breathing hazard with rising levels of carbon monoxide where the crews were operating. Medic 520, along with Truck 520, stabilized the patient for removal. Rescue 506 and Engine 514 also assisted with the fuel leaks and getting fresh air into the home while crews kept working with their initial tasks. Once the patient was removed, the call shifted to secure the severely damaged home. Crews set up work areas to strengthen the structure of the home. Once the house was no longer in danger of collapsing, crews had to remove parts of the foundation to assist the tow company with getting the car out of the house. Crews were faced with unique challenges requiring the use of multiple crews working together to stabilize and extricate the trapped occupant from the SUV in the house. Crews secured the structure of the home to prevent further damage to the owner's home. The seamless, coordinated efforts by all crews involved and expertise in multiple disciplines directly affected this positive outcome for all. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Valorous Unit Award, Medic 512, Lieutenant Lou Barretts, Technician 2 Amanda Scheel, Technician 2 Jonathan Hartman. On September 19, 2019, Medic 512 responded to a call for a woman 9 months pregnant having contractions and severe pain in a parking lot while trying to drive herself to the hospital. The engine crew arrived first and began a thorough assessment of the patient. Shortly after, paramedics arrived and she was prepared to be placed into the medic unit to transport to the closest hospitals. Shortly after, the paramedics arrived and she was prepared to be placed into the medic unit to transport to the closest hospital. As crews were taking the patient to the hospital, she began to give birth. Before they could get the patient into the hospital room, she gave birth on the stretcher. As the baby was born, crews quickly realized that the umbilical cord was wrapped around the baby's neck. The paramedics were able to remove the cord from the baby's neck, but noticed the baby was in grave condition. CPR was needed to revive the baby. CPR was done by a combination of the hospital staff and paramedics. The baby was moved into a trauma room where joint efforts continued. 20 minutes after arrival to the emergency room, the baby had a pulse and was able to breathe on its own. Once the mother and child were stable, they were quickly transported by helicopter to Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. This effort by both firefighter, paramedics, and hospital staff exemplified teamwork and dedication while doing the most possible for any patient. Medic 512 stayed with the patient longer than expected to ensure that hospital staff had all the help they needed. There's no doubt that their compassion and superior medical expertise provided a positive outcome for this family. From Prince William County Department of Fire and Rescue, Valorous Unit Award, Battalion 593, Captain Brett Hamby, Technician 2 James Walker. Engine 523, Technician 2 Christopher Sager, Technician 2 Austin Wing, Ryan Turlick. Truck 523, Technician 2 Adam Mowry, Technician 1 Brittany Mason, Technician 1 Jeremy Lonas, Technician 1 Colin Tang. Medic 523, Lieutenant Robert Moreau, Technician 2 Lauren Lindis, Technician 1 Daniel Bragg. On February 8, 2019, crews from the Dumfries area responded to an apartment fire. Engine 523 and Truck 523 arrived together and were confronted with the fire on the balcony of a third story, with the fire spreading into adjacent apartments and the roof. Freezing temperatures and high wind conditions caused the fire to spread quickly and made conditions very difficult for the crews on scene. Crews immediately began stretch hose line to extinguish the fire as residents were evacuating the apartment complex. Conditions began to worsen, and once the crews on scene were able to confirm that the residents were safely away from the building, the chief officer, Battalion 593, made the decision to evacuate crews and extinguish the fire from the outside. Crews continued to face difficulties brought on by the weather, and on top of that, there were issues with fire hydrants in the area that slowed down the fire operations. Through fast thinking and coordinated operation, they were able to overcome this obstacle. As the fire was brought under control, crews were able to re-enter the building to finish extinguishing the fire. Crews worked for hours to check for any hidden fire and salvage anything from the building they could for the residents. Medic 523 assisted tirelessly with accounting for all residents and then went above and beyond, using their own personal funds to buy warm beverages and snacks for the residents. This incident provided many challenges for all crews involved. The initial crews were able to work through adversity, execute a solid plan of attack, and coordinated all of their efforts with multiple crews and agencies. Without their significant efforts of teamwork and dedication, the outcome of this fire would have been much worse. From the Prince William County Fire and Rescue, Stafford County Fire Marshal's Office, Prince William County Police Department Criminal Investigations Division, and the Forensic Services Section and ATF Fire Research Lab, Hillary Robinette Award. Prince William County Fire and Rescue, Assistant Chief Matt Smolsky, Battalion Chief Tom Jarman, Captain Tyler Cirillo, Lieutenant Mike Kozdeba, Lieutenant Barry Culbertson, Lieutenant Paul Smiljanich, Lieutenant Tammy Kronbusch, Lieutenant Jason Knight, Lieutenant Justin Lefevre, Lieutenant Barbara Quick, Stafford County Fire Marshal's Office, Deputy Fire Marshal Ben Goldman and Duchess, ATF Fire Research Lab, Special Agent Chad Campanell, Special Agent Mark Ambrosi, Special Agent in Charge Matt Verisco, Special Agent Brian Grove, P.E., Prince William County Police Department, Criminal Investigations Division, and the Forensic Services Section. Although the incident occurred in the early morning hours on July 31st, 2016, the resulting multi-agency investigation, trial, and court proceedings concluded in 2019. On July 31st, 2016, callers reported a house fire on Lohman Drive. Fire crews were quick to arrive and quickly found 2 unconscious males in cardiac arrest. As they began treatment, they quickly realized that the fire conditions and circumstances were not normal and summoned the fire marshal's office. Both victims from the fire succumbed to their injuries. Due to the large presence of gasoline smell on the victims and the structure, fire crews and investigators quickly determined this was most likely an arson. Additional investigators from the fire marshal's office and police CID arrived on the scene and developed a game plan. Since this was not only an arson, but a double homicide, this situation created a complicated investigation. In Virginia, fires are considered accidental until proven otherwise. This high-level standard means you not only have to show the fire was the arson, but you have to prove it alone was the cause of the fire. The medical examiner's autopsy determined both victims died as a result of the fire. Assistance from the Stafford County Fire Marshal's Office K-9 Duchess and her handler, Deputy Fire Marshal Ben Goldman, were requested and confirmed the presence of an ignitable liquid. As the morning went on, the police gang unit followed up on rumored gang ties to the incident, and CID Homicide followed up with hospitals and chief medical examiner. The Forensic Science Services Unit from PWC Police assisted in the collection and processing of dozens of pieces of personal evidence, and the ATF, along with the PWC fire marshals, collected hundreds of pieces of physical evidence and samples related to several criminal search warrants executed by multi-agency teams. As the Homicide Unit and Violent Crimes Bureau continue to follow leads and conduct interviews, the PWC Fire Marshal's Office and ATF concentrated on piecing the investigation and sequence of events together. Through interviews, there were several stories relayed by the suspect. Each one of these stories were analyzed with facts and evidence and subsequently disproven through scientific method. The ATF's Chad Campanell, Mark Ambrosi, and Matt Verisco cleared the way for full-scale fire modeling to be done at the ATF's Fire Research Lab in Maryland under the watchful guidance and participation of Brian Grove. The Commonwealth's Attorney's Office witnessed the full-scale testing that proved not only the origin and cause investigation, the fire development and cause of death. As the case neared trial, it became apparent that the investigation was solid. As usual with any major case, there were several delays in court proceedings that eclipsed almost 2.5 years. Finally, in November 2018, the suspect entered an Alford plea and was found guilty of the arson and double homicide. He was sentenced in February 2019 to 45 years in prison, over $164,000 in restitution, and $5,000 to the PWC Victims Assistance Fund. From the Virginia State Police Investigative Merit Award, Special Agent Kevin Fleenor II, on February 9, 2019, a suspicious parcel was intercepted. Inside the parcel was a vacuum-sealed package containing 1,295 grams of cocaine. At 1 p.m, Virginia State Police, Drug Enforcement Administration, Homeland Security Investigations conducted a controlled delivery to a Prince William County residence. Once the parcel went inside, agents executed an anticipatory search warrant. VSP Special Agent DEA Task Force Officer Kevin Fleenor interviewed a grandfather and his grandson. S.A. Fleenor convinced the grandson to cooperate with law enforcement and placed a recorded call to the target. Shortly after 9 p.m., a BMW arrived at the residence. A suspect got out of the BMW and walked into the residence. The target took possession of the parcel and was detained when he tried to leave. For 3 months, S.A. Fleenor's investigative efforts included conducting static and mobile surveillance, drafting and executing preservation orders, search warrants, and reviewing call data records. During his investigation, S.A. Fleenor identified 6 individuals of a drug trafficking organization that operated in 3 states and shipped kilogram amounts of cocaine, heroin, and marijuana to Prince William County. On May 13, 2019, A mass arrest plan was executed flawlessly, and all 5 suspects were safely apprehended. 5 suspects were charged in Eastern District, Virginia, for conspiracy to distribute more than 500 grams but less than 2,000 grams of a Scheduled II controlled substance, cocaine. All 5 defendants in this case pled guilty in Eastern District of Virginia. From the City of Manassas Police Department, Investigative Merit Award, Detective Luis Armas. In February 2019, Detective Armas investigated social media threats to 8 different schools located within the city of Manassas and Prince William County. Information had been gathered that the account had since been removed, leaving him with no leads or suspect information. Detective Armas noticed the posted picture that listed the involved schools appeared as if the suspect used a map application and searched for nearby schools. Using the distances from all of the schools, a triangulation map was created showing the possible location for the suspect. This information led to the discovering of the identity of the suspect that had made the threatening post. In September of 2019, Detective Armas investigated another threat where the suspect had used a social media platform. Several involved juveniles who could identify the suspect were uncooperative with the investigation and denied seeing the social media video. These juveniles identify other students who saw the video but would not identify the suspect. After speaking with several other juveniles, Detective Armas created an account to attempt to communicate with the suspect. This effort resulted in enough information being obtained to identify the suspect. In both cases, Detective Armas's work led to the successful resolution of the threats made against the schools. From the City of Manassas Police Department, Investigative Merit Award, Lieutenant Tara Petty, Sergeant Wayne Bambara, Detective Chris Daniels, Detective Marcus Hyde, Officer James Horton, and Officer Justin Rollins. In October of 2019, multiple 911 calls were made regarding an individual that had been shot in the back at a local apartment complex. A description of the suspect was quickly distributed, and the responding officers spotted the individual nearby. The suspect fled from officers into a wooded area, but was quickly apprehended. It was learned that the suspect had disposed of the firearm during the pursuit. As the investigation progressed, the officers learned that the victim had been pronounced dead at a local hospital. Specialized resources were called to the scene to search for the murder weapon as detectives continued their investigation. The weapon was found in a creek near where the suspect had first fled from responding officers. As the investigation continued, the involved detectives executed numerous search warrants and interviewed multiple witnesses. This resulted in the identification of another suspect involved. All suspects were arrested without incident due to the efforts of all personnel involved. From the City of Manassas Police Department, Investigative Merit Award, Sergeant Carolyn Mello and Senior Animal Control Officer Mark Daigle. In May 2019, the department received a complaint of animal neglect at a pet shop. The complaint included unsanitary and unsafe cages, inadequate documentation, a sick puppy, improper use of medication, and questionable procedures conducted by the shop's staff. After conducting additional interviews and obtaining written statements from witnesses and other visitors of the shop, Officer Daigle received enough information to warrant an inspection of the business. Officer Daigle and Sergeant Mello visited the puppy shop to complete inspection of the store. The officers were able to confirm all allegations that had been made by the complainants. After the initial inspection and extensive follow-ups with the city attorney, veterinarian, and consultation with the Attorney General's office, Officer Daigle obtained a search warrant for the business. Subsequent to the execution of the search warrant, 25 puppies, computer equipment, records and documents, and several medications were seized. The investigation resulted in the owner of the business and staff being served in excess of 50 summonses for violations noted during the investigation. The officers' work also resulted in all 25 dogs becoming property of the city and being able to be made available for adoption. From the City of Manassas Police Department, Merit Award for Valor, Senior Detective Marcus Hyde, Senior Police Officer Barrett, Officer Ethan Eustace, Officer Warren Lane. On March 15, 2019, officers responded to reports of shots fired in the area of Grant Avenue in the city of Manassas. Officer Eustace located the victim suffering from several gunshot wounds, being aided by another person who had witnessed the shooting. Officer Eustace retrieved his tactical emergency casualty care kit as officers Hyde, Barrett, and Lane arrived at the scene. The victim had already lost a significant amount of blood, and the officers were working to stabilize both the victim and the crime scene in extremely tense circumstances. Officer Barrett and Officer Eustace applied a tourniquet to the victim's leg, while Officer Hyde applied a tourniquet to the victim's arm. Officer Lane applied a chest seal to the gunshot wound found by the officers as they continued to provide care. Officer Hyde began developing suspect information from the victim to provide the other responding officers, while Officer Eustace kept the victim alert and responsive. The significance of the victim's injuries required a third tourniquet to be applied, coupled with constant direct pressure by Officer Barrett. The officers continued to work to maintain security around the crime scene and continued care until relieved by responding rescue personnel. The victim was flown to a hospital where his injuries were eventually stabilized. The responding medical personnel advised that without the teamwork, quick thinking, and decisive actions of the 4 responding officers, it is likely that the victim would have died from significant loss of blood resulting from multiple gunshot wounds. From the City of Manassas Police Department, Bronze Award for Valor, Senior Detective Jacob Turpin, Officer Stephen Schillingberg, Officer Kalia Bowden. On January 12, 2019, Officers Turpin, Schillingberg, and Bowden responded to a resident on Scarlet Oak Drive in the city of Manassas for a report of a mentally ill individual in crisis. Officers Schillingberg and Bowden climbed 2 flights of stairs to reach the front door's balcony to attempt to make contact. Officer Turpin responded to assist, but remained on a lower stoop due to the limited space. The front door was flung open by the individual when the officers knocked. The interior of the apartment was dark, but the officers recognized that the individual was holding a large knife overhead. Officer Bowden and Officer Schillingberg drew their weapons, began to give commands, and attempted to create distance. They were only able to move 5 feet away due to the size of the balcony. Officer Turpin began to run up the stairs to assist at that time. The individual continued holding the knife overhead as the officers ordered them to drop it. The individual then lowered the knife to their side, and the standoff continued. After several more seconds, the individual placed the knife down behind them. The knife was still within reach, and the individual refused to step out of the apartment. The 3 officers moved to restrain the individual as they attempted to reach for the knife. Officer Turpin positioned himself between the individual and the knife, and all 3 officers forced the individual out of the apartment. The individual was then restrained without injury to anyone involved. From the Prince William County Fire and Rescue, Bronze Award for Valor, Technician 1, Ryan Blair. On October 19, 2019, Technician 1, Ryan Blair, was finishing up a 24-hour shift and driving to his home in West Virginia. Technician 1, Ryan Blair, was entering his subdivision when he noticed a large column of smoke. Instead of just continuing to his house and ignoring the smoke column, Technician Blair decided to try and find where it was coming from. He was able to locate the smoke coming from a house in his neighborhood. As Technician Blair pulled up to the house, he noticed that there were cars in the driveway and noticed that no one was outside. Blair then immediately called 911 to report the fire and that there could be people trapped inside. Technician Blair then kicked in the front door of the house and noticed that there was fire on the roof on one side Charlie. With dangerous smoke and fire conditions, Blair yelled, trying to notify anyone that may still be inside. Without regard for his own safety, no personnel protective equipment, or having the luxury of a handline, Technician Blair tried to enter the home but was pushed back due to the intense heat and smoke. While still yelling out, He noticed a light come on in a little trailer that was parked in the driveway. A woman then exited the trailer, and Technician Blair asked her if anyone was still inside the home. She confirmed that everyone was out. She then advised him that she was living in the trailer while her house was being renovated. Technician 1 Blair later assisted the West Virginia Fire Marshal's office with their investigation a few days later. He was able to give vital information on his finding when he arrived on the scene. Ryan Blair set an example for other employees by seizing the opportunity to do the right thing by not just ignoring the smoke column. Technician Blair was adamant from his training and knowledge that this was some type of structure fire. Blair went above and beyond, demonstrating the true meaning of ultimate performance and personalized delivery even while off duty. From the Prince William County Fire and Rescue, Silver Award for Valor, Technician 2 Joshua Owens. While off duty and driving to dinner with his family, Technician 2 Josh Owens was traveling near the Remington Road and North Franklin Street intersection where he witnessed a vehicle traveling at a high rate of speed and approaching a dangerous curve on the road. The vehicle failed to navigate the turn, striking a guardrail and rolling over into the woods and coming to rest on the vehicle's side against trees. Josh went to the scene to assess the situation and check for possible injuries. Upon arrival, he noticed the engine compartment was on fire and spreading into the passenger compartment. He attempted to make contact and assist the driver out, but the driver was unable to remove himself from the vehicle. Josh then kicked the windshield in, and without any gloves or protection, he began to tear the windshield out of the car to gain access. Josh was able to enter the vehicle and drag the patient out of the vehicle away from danger. In the process, Josh suffered several lacerations to his hands, arms, and head due to glass. He rendered patient care until a Fauquier County medic unit arrived, then assisted the crew with C-spine precautions. Without Josh's quick actions and professional training, the patient could have suffered extensive burns or an even worse outcome. From the Prince William County Police Department, Investigative Merit Award, Officer Michael Furr. On April 29, 2019, Officer Michael Furr, who currently serves as a crime scene analyst, along with members of the Violent Crimes Bureau and Forensic Services Section, responded to the area of Minnieville Road to investigate a homicide. A citizen walking their dog encountered charred human remains on the shoulder of Minnieville Road earlier that morning. The descendant appeared to have been discarded with no signs of the homicide occurring in the area. Upon inspection, the victim was deceased and burned beyond recognition. At the time of the original investigation, the victim and all suspects were unknown. With minimal information and no suspects or lead in the case, Officer Furr conducted a thorough and systematic search of the scene for any items with evidentiary value. During his search, Officer Furr located an item of evidence that likely had been overlooked as garbage or medical debris near the scene. Officer Furr followed his training and experience to collect the item. Officer Furr proceeded to painstakingly process items he collected at the scene for latent prints. The one item was processed, photographed, and led to an identification of a suspect in the automated fingerprint identification system. The latent identification blew the investigation wide open, leading to the suspect's arrest. From the Prince William County Police Department, Investigative Merit Award, Detective Nader Kura, Detective Kevin Hook, Detective Tommy Rodriguez, Detective Eric Davis, Officer Timothy Clark, Officer Felipe Villalobos Reyes, Detective Jonathan Kennedy, Sergeant Kaylin Smith, Detective Cameron Crouch. Beginning around May 20th, 2019, several residents began reporting stolen vehicles and larcenies from vehicles within the Western District of Prince William County. 3 suspects were identified during the investigation from fingerprints and witness interviews. During the investigation, it was discovered that the same group was also involved in an armed home invasion and strong-armed robbery. After surveillance was conducted and sufficient evidence gathered, the 3 suspects were taken into custody and then interviewed on May 31st, 2019, providing confessions and implicating their involvement in 16 cases, including numerous larcenies from autos, vehicle trespasses, and grand larceny from autos. The suspects committed a multitude of different crimes which brought together several assets of our department. Detective Nader Kara, Kevin Hook, Tommy Rodriguez, Tommy Davis, John Kennedy, and Cam Crouch as well as Sergeant Kalen Smith and Officers Timothy Clark and Felipe Villalobos, all played integral roles in identifying the suspects and linking the various cases together. From the Prince William County Police Department, Merit Award for Valor, Sergeant Dennis Jensen, Officer Jonathan Seals, Officer Liam Spina, Officer Christopher Hume. On September 7, 2019, Officers Hume, Seals, and Spina responded to the Occoquan River Bridge on Jefferson Davis Highway in reference to a subject who was sitting on the wall overlooking the river. All three units quickly ascertained that the individual was in crisis and threatening to jump. Officer Spina was able to quickly relay the information over the radio, while Officers Hume and Seals began to establish a rapport with the individual. The individual was acting extremely erratic and kept making threats to jump if the officers did not perform certain tasks. Officers Seals and Hume did an excellent job not only stalling, but using their crisis intervention team skills to begin to calm down the individual. After about 30 minutes of speaking with the individual, Sergeant Jensen responded as the negotiator. He was able to insert himself into the situation seamlessly and keep the man calm enough to begin talking rationally. After another 30 minutes of communication, Sergeant Jensen convinced him to come off the wall, lay down in the street, and be handcuffed peacefully. The individual was taken into custody on an emergency custody order without further incident. Arriving on scene and using outstanding verbal tactics is why the individual is alive today and will be able to get the help he needs. Sergeant Jensen's ability to defuse a stressful scene by establishing a rapport with an individual in crisis is extraordinary, and all the officers mentioned above deserve to be commended for their actions. From the Prince William County Police Department, Valorous Unit Award, Officer Christopher Seiss, Officer Casey Nelson, Officer Christopher Paradis, Officer Ryan Lindus, Officer Kara Brown, Officer Kevin McFarland, Officer Matthew Ernst, Officer Andrew Smythe, Officer Sarah Kolkmeyer, Officer Kelsey Hannenman, Officer Thomas Wheeler, Officer A.J. Singh, Officer Colby Matthews, Sergeant Darren Hadrow. On October 18, 2019, at approximately 2130 hours, officers expedited to a stabbing in progress call in Lake Ridge. Once they encountered a shirtless male carrying a young female down the apartment building stairs and noticed the juvenile's upper body covered in blood. Thinking the male was bringing the injured juvenile to police for help, it was shocking to see the male reach the bottom of the stairs and repeatedly punch the juvenile female in her face. Without hesitation, officers ran to and confronted the male. It took several officers to get the resisting suspect, believed to be under the influence of an illegal substance, into custody. Meanwhile, officers utilized items from the department trauma kits to provide vital first aid to the juvenile victim who was suffering from a multitude of stab wounds to her torso, face, and arms. They packed puncture wounds with gauze and applied pressure in an attempt to control bleeding. Other officers made their way to the apartment associated with the call. There they located a second victim suffering from multiple stab wounds all over her body. They cleared the apartment and began providing critical first aid to the victim prior to rescue's arrival. All officers involved in this incident should be commended. Their apprehension of the homicidal suspect and the life-saving actions performed undoubtedly aided in the preservation of lives of a young girl and her mother. From the Prince William County Police Department, Merit Award for Valor, Officer Brian Munden, Officer William Ward, Bronze Award for Valor, Officer Zachary Smith. On March 3, 2019 at 3:07 a.m., Officer Zachary Smith was the first officer on scene of a shooting and was directed to an apartment by an individual on the ground level. Officer Smith directed the man to stay there and requested responding officers detain the individual while he checked on the victim. He located the victim in a doorway of an apartment suffering from a single gunshot wound to the abdomen. Officer Tokarski radioed that he had the previously encountered individual at gunpoint after he attempted to flee. Officer Smith left the victim momentarily to check on the safety of Officer Tokarski, as well as obtain a trauma kit from the officer. After returning to the victim, Officer Smith observed that the victim was not breathing and did not have a pulse. He initiated compressions while continuing to update over the radio about the victim's status. After 3 rounds of compressions, Officer Smith detected a pulse and observed breathing. Officer Smith momentarily left the victim with Officer Munden and Officer Ward while he cleared the apartment to make the scene secure for rescue. Upon returning to the victim, Officer Smith, Munden, and Ward applied 2 chest seals from Officer Ward's trauma kit to the victim to enclose his wounds. Officer Munden and Ward continued to keep a check on the victim's pulse and consciousness while Officer Smith began the initial investigation. This helped to stabilize the victim while waiting for rescue to arrive. The victim was air transported to Fairfax Hospital and survived surgery to repair his wounds. From the Prince William County Police Department, Bronze Award for Valor, Officer Michael Ragan, Officer Anthony Edwards. In the early morning hours of August 15, 2019, Officer Ragan and Officer Edwards responded to a domestic with weapons situation where a suspect was threatening his wife and family with a knife and BB gun. Both officers arrived simultaneously and were approached by the victim in front of the residence. Due to the high priority of the call, more officers were also dispatched and en route. After speaking with the victim, Officers Ragan and Edwards approached the residence and observed the suspect in the doorway. Due to the previous information that was obtained stating the suspect was armed, Officer Edwards gave commands to him to step out of the residence and show his hands. The suspect eventually emerged from the residence and charged towards Officer Edwards with a knife in his hand. Both officers gave commands to the suspect to drop it, but he did not comply and continued to charge towards the officers. Officers Ragan and Edwards discharged their weapons and stopped the threat. Officers Edwards and Ragan remained calm as additional officers arrived on scene and determined that the officers were okay. Officers gave first aid to the suspect while waiting for rescue to arrive. Additional officers checked on the welfare of the occupants of the house and ensured their safety. Due to these officers' quick thinking, they were able to prevent more harm to this family. From the Prince William County Police Department, Bronze Award for Valor, Officer Michael Ragan, Officer Colby Matthews. Officers Ragan and Matthews were dispatched to an address on Tiger Lily Circle to assist fire and rescue with the townhouse fire. The officers were first on scene and observed the residence in flames. The officers responded to the rear of the residence and saw the occupants trapped on the 3rd floor. Due to the townhouse filling with smoke, Officers Ragan and Matthews knowingly climbed the rear deck, putting themselves in danger due to the deck being on fire. The officers were then able to reach and assist the family out of the 3rd floor window. Officer Ragan and Matthews then assisted them off the rear deck and safely away from the residence. The 2 officers placed their lives in jeopardy to save the lives of the family inside. From the Prince William County Police Department, Silver Award for Valor, Master Police Officer Joseph T. Allen. On October 8, 2019, Master Police Officer Joe Allen was vacationing on the beach in St. Augustine Beach, Florida. He entered the water but determined it was too choppy and dangerous to swim, so he decided to stay on the beach until conditions changed. While on the beach, he thought he heard yelling from the water. He got up, walked toward the water to investigate, at which point he heard someone yelling, "Help!" MPO Allen commandeered a boogie board from a bystander and entered further into the water. He observed 2 heads bobbing in the water approximately 75 yards from his position. He began to swim towards the 2 victims. By the time he reached the drowning swimmers, a father and his 14-year-old son, both were exhausted and barely able to hold their heads above water. MPO Allen placed their hands on the boogie board, kept them calm, and reassured them help was on the way. MPO Allen held onto the board as waves battered the 3 swimmers. At times, MPO Allen had to grab the exhausted swimmers as they fell off the boogie board. Public safety officers entered the water and reached MPO Allen and the 2 swimmers. Ultimately, all 3 were brought to safety. Had MPO Allen not acted quickly and decisively, this incident would have ended tragically. Despite being off duty, he rose to the occasion and placed himself at significant risk to save 2 strangers. From the Narcotics Task Force Investigative Merit Award, Prince William County Police Department, Detective Nicholas Waymeyer, Detective Joshua Lane, Detective Jeremy Booth, Detective Simon Chu, Detective Steven Seislinski, Detective Neil Anglin, Detective Walter O'Neill, Detective Daniel Seckley, Detective Brandon Hunt, Detective Donald DeShazo, Detective Wayne Smith, Detective Robert White, Sergeant Donna Edelin, First Sergeant Kenneth Halsey, First Sergeant Michael Sullivan, City of Manassas Police Department, Detective Brittany Alexander, Detective Ryan Daisy. City of Manassas Park Police Department, Detective Christopher Coughlin. On March 14, 2019, the Narcotics Task Force investigated an overdose death of a Prince William County resident, which led to the arrest of a suspect who provided the lethal dose of drugs to the victim. The task force obtained information from sources and, together with the Federal Bureau of Investigation, investigated deeper into the distribution network from which the suspect obtained his narcotics. The task force conducted many hours of surveillance leading to the discovery of a regional supplier who lived in Maryland. During a surveillance operation, detectives observed the supplier meet with numerous individuals at the shopping center as he appeared to be conducting transactions. The task force developed a source who was able to introduce an undercover FBI agent to the supplier. Several controlled buys of fentanyl from the suspected supplier were conducted at his office building in D.C. Because of the information developed during the initial investigation, on September 24, 2019, the Narcotics Task Force assisted the FBI in a federal operation to arrest the supplier and conduct a search warrant at his residence. The suspect was in possession of 30 grams of fentanyl at the time of arrest. A search of his residence resulted in the seizure of over 56 grams of fentanyl, 3 handguns, 1 stolen from Maryland, cash, and 4 vehicles. A search of the suspect's workplace in his office also revealed 7 additional grams of fentanyl. This investigation was an outstanding example of teamwork between local and federal law enforcement officers.
Once again, a big congratulations to all of this year's winners. We thank you for the work you are doing and will continue to do for our community. Have a great day, stay safe, and we'll see you next year.
Thank you, Jumi. Powerful stories. Congratulations to all of our winners. In a live setting, this is where we would introduce to you our chiefs. Instead, our local chiefs have sent messages of support to our winners and to the community. Enjoy.
Hello, this is Doug Keene, Chief of Police for the City of Manassas. I want to take this time to congratulate all of our Valor Award recipients on the great job you have done serving our community. Your commitment to making us safe and preserving life continues to shine at a time when other things are brought to light. Continue to serve and do a great job. Thank you.
Hello, this is Barry Bernard, Police Chief here in Prince William County. On behalf of the Police Department, I want to extend my sincere congratulations to everyone who is being honored today with a Prince William Chamber of Commerce 2020 Valor Award. We are proud of you. Whatever action you took in bringing this award to you today, it was heroic, it saved a life, it made a difference, it helped someone, you demonstrated that you care, you demonstrated that you are a true public safety professional, be it police, fire, emergency medical services, whatever the case may be, you demonstrated public safety service that was extraordinary. And we want to present you with this 2020 Valor Award as a symbol of our thank you and recognition for the great actions that you took. We also want to, of course, thank the Chamber of Commerce for once again hosting this wonderful program. So to all those who are receiving a Valor Award this year, congratulations to you. We are proud of you. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Nick Kelly. I'm the Chief of the Stonewall Jackson Volunteer Fire Department and Rescue Squad. And I'd like to congratulate the following members for receiving a Valor Award in 2019. Those members are Assistant Chief Drew Taylor, Sergeant Ethan Cochran, EMT Samantha Bellows, EMT Brianna Hart, EMT Catherine Quinones, and Firefighter Kyle Davey. Congratulations to all. Job well done.
Congratulations to all the members of the fire and rescue system that are being recognized today by the Chamber of Commerce and receiving this Valor Award. We all take the oath to protect and serve the citizens of Prince William County on duty and off duty, and today you're being recognized of going above and beyond your normal duties to actually serve the citizens not only in Prince William County but the surrounding area, and your recognition today is well deserved, and I'm proud of each and every one of you, and again, congratulations.
Once again, we would like to thank Centera Northern Virginia Medical Center for sponsoring the Valor Awards year after year. Without their support and the support of other sponsors, this event would not be possible. Events like this are only possible with the support and help of our chamber members. We wish to thank American Business Solutions for printing our commemorative books, and East to West Embroidery and Design Incorporated for the awards. This video presentation will be available soon on YouTube and on our website for replay. Thank you for taking the time to celebrate all the heroes in our community. To those that we recognize today, to those that we did not personally call your name, to those who are behind the scenes, we appreciate you and we honor you today. Thank you all for celebrating with us. God bless you and God bless America.